A scribbled tag spray-painted under the cover of darkness, or a simple mural, that's how street art used to be seen. Now it goes under the hammer for millions and hangs in prestigious galleries. Our guest today has had a front row seat to those changes. Seth started out making street art in the quieter corners of the French capital. Now his work is on show in major museums, and he joins us in the studio to tell us more. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Now, I wonder, when you started out making street art quite a few years back now, did you ever think it would lead you to this point with your work hanging in a museum, a major museum?
Of course, yes. No, not at all. For me, it was just a leisure. I have my job. I did some art school studies, but I wanted to be a graphic designer, stuff like that. It was just to have fun around with my friends and stuff like that. I would never expect it will be my life.
Wow. So this is a special exhibition at the Petit Palais here in Paris. It's called We Are Here, a group show. You made a site-specific piece for that. It's called the Tower of Babel. Mm-hmm. Tell us a bit more about this installation.
So I was invited by Galerie Itinérance, who organized this show. And they show me the place. And finally, I see this little space with wood around and stuff, and I say, wow, it will be the perfect place to put something or to do something. And so the idea is these kids sitting on a pile of books and reaching the sky with transforming a kind of rainbow color circle.
It certainly takes street art to a three-dimensional sort of place.
Mm-hmm.
And to go back to the beginning of your career as an artist, I know that you decided to adopt the name of Seth. That's not the name your parents gave you originally. To give you a sort of artistic persona. Why was that important?
Because it was in the graffiti. I was painting with graffiti writers and in the graffiti scene. So everybody has a pseudo, something like that, a nickname. So I chose this one because it was, when you pronounce it in French, it's like seven. But I wanted to change it to give another signification, and I took the god, Egyptian god, or the third son of Adam and Eve in the Bible.
Okay, so a biblical name, a numerical name. It's quite mysterious.
I was a teenage.
So as well as that show we mentioned at the Petit Palais, you have another show on at the Itinérance Gallery in Paris. It's called Escape Games. Then there's another one in Amsterdam at the Strat Museum called Seth se la joue. We could translate that to Seth is playing up, is certainly playful. You've said that the show is a journey towards our inner child, and there's a whole part of the show designed for children. What do you think it is that children understand about art that we don't as adults?
I think they have a direct link with what they see. What they see. So the feeling is not like intellectual; it's emotional. So I try to put myself in me when I was a child and try to conceptualize all the exhibition around that. How I would have loved it or when I was a child.
Because it's rare to have exhibitions directed for children.
Yeah, it's for children, but adults too.
Yeah.
Because we all have children inside us. So I try to make something that can speak to everybody.
Yeah, that inner child, as you mentioned. Well, moving to a slightly different style of art now, trompe-l'œil, or visual tricks, have been around for centuries, deceiving us with the use of optical effects. A new exhibition in Paris exploring the technique is now on show at the Marmottan Monet Museum. Yinka Oyetade and our colleagues at France 2 reveal some of the secrets behind it.
Just looking at this painting, it's easy to feel as though you can reach out and turn the keys. In this one, the cards appear so grabbable, while in this painting, you can almost touch the cigarette butts or light the matches. These pieces, called trompe-l'œil, literally translated as to fool the eye, may not be real, but they are very effective. As early as the 16th century, artists have been setting themselves an interesting challenge, recreating a three-dimensional world on a totally flat surface. The figures in these pieces are always to scale, and thanks to the depth of field, they appear as if they're stepping out of the frame. The invention of oil paints made it possible to give a transparent look to fake pieces of glass, for example, like in this work of art, bringing that magical realism. Everything here is fake or painted, but it's very easy to be deceived.
qui en fait est aussi quelque chose de très
A
commun
common
à
theme
ces
among
artistes,
these artists
c'est
is
l'humour.
humour.
Et je crois qu'on est sensible aussi
I think
à
we can
cette,
easily be
capacité,
fooled.
de
We are
nous
so
tromper,
sensitive to the different techniques that the artists use to accentuate this trompe-l'œil
l'artiste va
effect.
utiliser pour accentuer cet effet trompe-l'œil.
It's easy to get swept away by the trickery of a trompe-l'œil. The techniques continue to fascinate artists. Just take a look at this life-size teenager in resin getting dressed, an oversized retired couple catching some sun. Trompe-l'œils have started making their mark in the pastry world as well, with chef Cédric Grolet creating his trademark hyper-real fruits. It's made waves on social media. This influencer is constantly tricking her followers, taking a bite out of everyday products or even her hands that double up as art and quick snacks.
So we can see trompe-l'œil, visual tricks have a long history in art. Seth, I know some of your art actually uses some of those techniques, some of those tricks. There's a painting you did in Le Mans that's got a very sophisticated trick with the depth of field going on. Can you tell us how you did that technically?
It's what we call anamorphose.
Okay.
So if you look it from a certain point of view, you will have a circle, an entire circle. But when you move, it's changing because it's painted on different perspective. So to do it, it's very complicated.
A lot of planning.
I need to take picture all the time and to put my circle on the picture and to see, from this window it has to go there and to rebuild it. So I have my phone and someone on the other side of the wall, and we say a little bit more. It was quite a long process.
Wow, quite an architectural process as well. Now, your projects have taken you around the world thanks to the documentary series Les Nouveaux Explorateurs that you work on as well. In that show, we discover that street art exists almost everywhere. It's a very universal language. Let's take a look at one of those encounters in Sarroa, Peru.
J'ai toujours vécu ici, à Sarroa. Je suis peintre depuis ma jeunesse. Si je meurs, je ne sais pas qui va rester, si je vais leur manquer, mais il restera les tablasses. À l'origine, c'était un moyen de se souvenir de nos compagnons. Malheureusement, je pense que ce travail et ces traditions risquent de se perdre aussi quand on va disparaître.
So we see some of the amazing meetings, exchanges that you have in that series. Do you remember, of all of those trips, one experience that had a real effect on your career, your approach to art?
I think it was in Java, Indonesia, in Pongu Krejo. It's a little village who has been destroyed by the eruption of Volcano Merapi. And with some people who were living now in a refugee camp, we went back and we painted together some characters on the destroyed wall. It was a way to make the village alive again. And that's why I did my first characters from the back, like I'm doing now. Okay. Because the result on the people is they say, I don't know if she's going to be optimistic and go back, or if she's sad. For me, she's optimistic. She will get up and go and rebuild. So for me, it was very important to see that the people can put themselves in the character, and imagine what it was speaking to them directly.
There's a whole story behind it.
So I went back and I paint much more characters with them.
Okay. Now, one of those episodes took you to the Holy Land. You were in Bethlehem in the West Bank a few years ago. Public and private spaces there are very politically charged, whether it's a building or a wall or a checkpoint. What did you take away from that trip?
I think that the painting in public spaces is something universal and can speak to everybody. And with that, it's a way to connect the people. And I didn't want to do something like violent or too revendicative, but I wanted to make the people like I did there, like some girl from the back again, and that everybody can imagine what they wanted with these characters.
So the work you were doing there in the West Bank, I believe you did one picture that you erased afterwards. Why was that?
Because speaking with the local people, they were telling me they didn't care if I paint or not on the separation wall, but they didn't want to make the wall like an attraction for tourists. So for them, they will not help me if I was painting on the wall, but I needed a ladder. So I told them, okay, I paint it, I erased it, and I will explain your point of view. And then they say, oh, yes, okay, they helped me to do it. They even filmed me doing it for them. So it was a good way to express their vision about what was art and how to express it in this special place, and me to do my stuff.
Earlier this year, the British street artist Banksy did a series of paintings around the city of London, which got a lot of attention, but some people criticised for having a lack of clear message. Do you think that street art always has to have a message?
For me, no, I don't think so. For people, yes, but for me, I don't want to have a message. We have too much message. We have message on our phone, on our television, and buy this or do this, or the political message. For me, it's important to make the people think, or make the people imagine. For me, the fight is to make people use more their imagination. It's like more poetry, you know? You have to understand between the lines, not to give all the message. It's not like in a newspaper, a drawing in a newspaper, like you can have an idea very clear. I did one when it was the war in Ukraine, where I did this little girl with the flag, because it was, but most of the time I don't do that.
Leave it open to a creative interpretation.
Yeah, it's a dialogue between the street and the people passing the trick and the artist. It's not me imposing my point of view.
Yeah. Well, finally, we asked you what's on your radar, and you enjoyed something recently that you mentioned. Another exhibition, it's called Aerosol, A History of Graffiti. What did you find special about that show?
It's an exhibition done by graffiti writers who were explaining a little bit about the history of the using of aerosol in the public space in France from the 60s to 85. So all the emergence of art in the public space using aerosol.
Thank you so much for the tip, and thank you for joining us today. We'll leave you with a taste of that show, Aerosol, A History of Graffiti, which was in Rennes. It's on tour. It will be at the Fine Arts Museum in Nancy, Eastern France, in the spring of next year. Take a look. Otherwise, do check in with us here next time on Arts 24. There's more news coming up just after this.